We'll call to order the Tuesday, June 23rd, 1 p.m. School Board Workshop. Please rise for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance and our national anthem. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Ramirez, present.
Janie, Ruddy.
Furry.
Christy, Chong.
LaShakia Moore.
We'll move on to board member liaison updates.
Okay, as the board liaison for the Exceptional Student Education Parent Advisory Council, so EPAC, I'm excited to share that we have a new chair, and so she's actually here today, Miss Diane Santamaria. So Diane is a dedicated parent of 2 students in Flagler schools, so including 1 student receiving our ESE services, and she stepped into this volunteer leadership role, very excited, pretty new to the community, so she is very eager to build relationships with all of our campuses, parents, and our schools. We've met several times, so we've brainstormed several different ways, some initiatives to develop our EPAC, and I want to brainstorm an idea, EPAC tour, so we've been discussing, so stay tuned for that. So moving forward, partnering more with schools, PTOs, school advisory councils, so stay tuned for more information on that with our EPAC to try to gain momentum on there. Belterre Elementary, so several exciting campus improvements are underway as the school prepares for another outstanding year. The entrance to the parking lot has been redesigned to improve safety for our walkers. If anyone is not familiar with Belterre Elementary, we have a lot of bikers, a lot of walkers, a lot. And so we have amazing cross guards, so thank you Belterre and our district for working on the safety for our south side walkers and all of them. Safer crosswalk and clearly marked entrances for exit lanes for car rider traffic. So in addition, all 10 kindergarten classrooms, they've been getting like a refresh update, so paint, flooring, carpeting, just making it more engaging for our students starting in kindergarten and student learning environments. So thank you so much for that. Matanzas High School, so summer preparations, they've just been working on, filling any open positions that they may have, so working on that. Teachers are participating in a lot of professional learning opportunities. Student athletes are engaged in summer workouts and leagues, so if you have a child that will be going into high school, they have a lot of different things going on. Wrestling is one of them, so just, check out that if you're interested. And then major chiller replacement project is wrapping up. I've heard wonderful things from staff that it is working amazing. So plant services and anyone involved, thank you so much for that. And of course, so for FSBA, we had our Florida School Board Association conference. It was, for me, it gets better and better. So the conference, it brought together more than 400 school board members across the state. And we basically collaborated, worked on best practices, safety, AI, student achievement, governance, advocacy, budgeting, workforce readiness, so enrollment trends and like different types of leadership opportunities were strategized and talked about and discussed. So that was happening this past month. And then Miss Karen Crespo, who is our legal assistant and paralegal, so she is over here in the back. So I like to recognize her. So through FSBA, there's opportunity to get certified as a certified support professional. And she completed that training, which is amazing because she's been here just over a year. And I think that is really going to benefit our district as a whole because they collaborate and bring things to them. And they're the work behind the scenes, so making everything happen. So congratulations and thank you for that. And that is all that I have for this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you. So I've seen that our future problem solvers teams who went to compete at the international level have been very successful. A lot of success among the elementary and middle grades students, which is really encouraging. I hope that program continues to rebound when it comes to the high school level. As you may or may not know, Diane Tomko, who is a longtime coach of Future Problem Solvers, really brought that program and helped grow it within our district. And so there's been some transition pieces in the high school, but the elementary and middle schools have really picked that up. I don't have the final count of the final places in the awards, but I did see recently that they posted, and I had a chat with one of the coaches, that they were doing really well. So, and that's something we back as a board. So that's an amazing accomplishment. And again, these are not just statewide competitions, this is international. So they come from like Australia and Japan, and it's a big deal. We did hold the ILA meeting, which occurs once per year. I had to attend remotely during my time at the FSBA conference at Tampa. I'm sure Mr. Furry will also contribute as he was on that meeting. Again, the city is, or the county is not really understanding how we could have such a population growth and housing growth, but yet not necessarily need the additional building of schools. And it isn't primarily because of vouchers or homeschooling. A lot of that has to do with the profile of the individuals who are moving here. If we're continuing to attract 55 plus individuals, they do not have school-age children. And so there was some discussion on changing the reports, because the reports we share at that ILA committee are what we're required to provide the state, but that doesn't give a clear picture of the number of kids in the seats, because it does not include numbers like VPK. So there was a discussion to have maybe both sets of reports provided. And yes, Rimfire, FPC, they're going through all of those new hire pieces for staff that have transition. District-wide, there's an upgrade in classrooms going on, in specifically kindergarten. So we appreciate the foresight of the superintendent and the facilities individuals to see that we need to have updated and modern learning spaces for our students. So that's really exciting. And I believe there was also a notable accomplishment by an FPC student who was a national champion in weightlifting. So that is amazing that our students continue to thrive and reach for their goals over the summer. And I just want to also give a shout out that there are a ton of really wonderful camps going on over the summer. The Ag Museum, our local school district, puts together a wonderful summer camp program. Even sometimes if you don't need your children for supervision reasons to attend camp, there is so much growth and enrichment that happens in those programs. I really encourage you to get your students, your children involved, because one of the #1 predictors of academic and life success is the experiences you have during your formative years. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ruddy. So yes, I'd like to start off also as a former liaison to the EPAC board. I just wanted to thank the Funaris for all their efforts over the years, and I had the privilege of meeting Ms. Santa Maria at the Tiger Bay. I was introduced by Ms. Ramirez here, and I'm very excited for the future and all the things you're going to bring new to that direction. So welcome aboard. And also just on the ILA, Ms. Ruddy did touch on a lot of that. This is a meeting where the municipalities come together to better understand what the capacity at our schools are and what our needs are going to be at the future. And I will say that amongst those that were there from the counties and the cities, it can be a challenge to decipher these numbers because they're based on certain actuarial. They're not really necessarily matter of fact, but it's the best guess that we can have. And it shows that over time, that enrollment will decrease for a myriad of reasons, and vouchers may be one of them. But there's other things that factor into that, which is birth rates, again, people moving here that have school-age children. All those are factored in. But the one thing that these numbers do not take into account is the future development of homes and the needs of those there. Student stations are being reserved. Whether they are used, that time will tell, but there are about 19,000 homes that are projects that are approved out there. If they were to be all built today, right now, we would still have capacity at our schools, with the exception of Buddy Taylor and Flagler Palm Coast. We would be over capacity if all of those, but the reality is these are going to come in over time, and we should be able to prepare for those when that happens. So it's always a constant evaluation that we have to do every year to forecast this, and I've seen this forecast change even in the last 4 years that I've been on the board, and so it's a moving number. And the reality is the state will not allow us to have empty, underutilized buildings. So you can't, you don't build a school until you have the capacity. So I've talked with our team, and we have mitigation in place to temporarily house those students when they come, until we can fill the buildings that we have to build. So I just want everybody to know there is a plan here, and we will work the plan at the time appropriate. And that's all I have for today, Chair.
Okay. All right, we'll start with the Chamber of Commerce, and just to share again, the Flagler County Home Builders Association and the Association of Realtors, they'll be holding the Meet the Candidates Forum. That'll be on June 30th, and that will include the school board, County Commission, and City of Palm Coast, so that will be next week. And July 9th, we will have the Legislative Day with Senator Tom Leek and Representative Sam Greco. That will be at the Hammock Dunes Club. You do need to register to be a part of that. Flagler County Education Foundation, they're helping us to share the word about VPK. There is a flyer out there, so if you all could help share that and just help spread the word for our voluntary pre-K. And also just want to share about Future Fridays. This is a really cool thing. Every Friday, industry leaders, colleges, and business professionals will have the opportunity to share with our high schools about their career paths. So that's a really great opportunity just to be able to share with our young people the different careers that are available to them. All right, and Bunnell Elementary, they'll be having play dates for their upcoming kindergartners. This will be held on June 25th and July 23rd. This will be for incoming kindergartners, for their students, families, and faculty. This will be at the BES playground. They have such a great campus, so that'd be great. I don't know if other schools are doing this, but I think it's such a great idea. And the Carver Center, this past weekend, they had a celebration for Juneteenth. This included live music, vendors, food trucks, activities, and celebrating history and inspiring the future. And just to touch briefly on the parking lot project, the Carver Board will be meeting with the HUD to present their proposal and get approval before we move forward with anything else. So just to share a quick update on that. Yeah, that is it for me. Okay. All right, do we have any changes or additions to the agenda?
No changes or additions to the agenda.
I get a motion to approve today's agenda.
Move approval?
Second?
Moved by Mr. Furry, second by Ms. Ruddy. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the motion carries. Do we have anyone for public comments?
No, we do not.
All right, I'm going to move on to academic services, 6.01, with Ms. Frank and Ms. Everidge.
Afternoon.
Welcome.
Good afternoon.
There should be a slideshow. Thank you. So we are here once again to present our comprehensive evidence-based reading plan that we have made for the next school year. As a reminder, this plan is approved by you as the board, and then it goes on to Just Read Florida to be approved by them. It is designed by Ms. Everidge and I and our team to focus on things like making plans based on our student achievement goals, our learning gains, also what our literacy leadership teams will look like this school year. We also talk about what evidence-based reading materials we'll be using this school year along with their assessments, any intervention changes that are in place for our students in MTSS and with ESE accommodations. And we also will be including Imagine Town Center's plan as an attachment to ours.
As always, our reading plan ensures that we are establishing a goal that is both measurable and achievable. We continue to work together with other district and school leadership to problem solve and to make sure that we have the steps in place to meet that goal. We always, as always, are focused on data and using that data to lead our decisions moving forward. We are always using DOE-approved materials. We have listed our new adopted materials for this school year within our SERP. And we are consistently using the Just Read Florida model for our literacy coaches to ensure that we're having the greatest impact on our students.
So there's an extensive table inside the SERP to look at more data, but we have a couple of data spotlights here to celebrate together with you. So we saw proficiency gains in every single grade level, from VPK to 10, as well as a significant decrease in our level 1s in 3rd grade, which is our mandatory retention year for students who score level 1. Some specifics are that reduction of 3rd grade level 1s. We went down 4%, which we now only have 12% students in 3rd grade scoring a level 1, which is the lowest that we've had since 2019. So we are back to above pre-COVID data for ourselves for our lowest achieving students. We had 3 of our elementary schools, our brick and mortar, increase proficiency in 1st grade, which is that monumental foundational skills grade level, by over 10 percentage points in their percent proficient. The 2 that did not are very close, and those schools are already making plans on how to provide support for the teachers who didn't meet that mark in data. And the district proficiency in 6th grade overall grew 11 points for proficiency. So lots of additional goals to keep this to one slide, but we're open to answering and to brag on any data. We saw a lot of great things. We met or exceeded the state averages in all grade levels across reading and ELA. In grade levels where we did meet our 25-26 goal, we increased that gain for proficiency by 2 points. For grade levels that we did not meet that 2% goal, we want to make up that difference because we don't want our gains to be stagnant. So our goal for next school year is to make up that difference and add the 2. So we're going to be really focused on our data coming in from our progress monitoring assessments, our common standards assessments, to be sure that those cohorts of students are catching up and catching up quickly.
And can I add
Please.
here that it's super exciting, this number, the 2%, where we're saying we've already met it. That applies to 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, and 10th grade.
Awesome.
They've already all met.
So we met their goals last year, yeah. And then our VPK proficiency goal is to maintain at or above 90% proficient. This year, we are at 94% proficient. The students who come into VPK, we don't have any baseline data on, obviously. This is their first year of school with us, but we do hold ourselves to that high expectation of this group of students. We want to see no less than 90% of them leaving VPK proficient. So that's our main goal. As well as for that VPK, the state has us identify percentage of students who are scoring in below the 10th percentile. Those would be students that we would be significantly worried about heading into kindergarten. We only had one student out of our 257 students in our Flagler School's VPK program score in that, so our percent is 0.4% of our VPK students in that less than 10th percentile bucket, which is another celebration.
Because of our steady growth, we've made very few changes for the 2026-27 school year. Number one is we, Kristen and I, as well as support from Mr. Reeves and others in our department, are going to increase our monitoring of how our literacy coaches are being used on our campuses. They're already doing great work. We want to see that continue and make sure that they are being used in ways that have the greatest impact on our student achievement. We're also going to continue to prioritize our instructional practice profiles. We are adopting new material this year, so we will need to continue our ELA best benchmark instruction and using those resources to do that with our teachers and our coaches as well. And we're also going to be increasing our use of the PLC framework to increase effectiveness with Tier 1 instruction. So continuing those focuses as we move forward. And we're also going to focus on increasing the capacity of our literacy leadership teams, to continue to meet those goals for our schools.
We made big shifts last year in moving to a district-wide differentiated professional learning day. We're going to continue that as our norm as we move into 26-27. So we're really focused on the PL that you'll see in the CERT plan is our basic what most students need, but we are always looking at current data, current school needs that come through us through our instructional review process to be able to differentiate PL for not only our teachers, but all instructional staff that go in front of our students, including administrators and coaches. An additional change would be obviously with our new ELA curriculum for K-12. Those new curriculums will be listed in the CERT plan as well as their accompanying assessments. We last year went through the adoption process for our interventions. So we did some work around watching how that played out for our students, specifically our students in the lowest quartile, students with disabilities, and so we fine-tuned that list even more so that way the options and the support that we're providing are with the resources that have been proven to work and proven to work with our students with varying needs. So that way there's more and more clear guidance and support for our schools to support students.
So as we work toward our goals and continue on with our professional development, some of the initiatives we're following have been listed on the chart for you, and they include practice profiles, continuing with our ELA best standards through the state with explicit instruction, establishing model classrooms where we can now start bringing staff from other schools into specific schools to see how things are going in those schools, using those as a model. As a district, we continue to focus on educating our leaders in the science of reading and making sure they're prepared to walk into classrooms and support their teachers in the best way possible. We continue Solution Tree with PLC, effective instructional design. Kristen is continuing on with the reading endorsement courses, which continue to build capacity in our teachers. And we're also working significantly on scaffolding to support struggling learners. It's a big focus for us.
We've really gotten to a great place where what we are doing is working, so now we're fine-tuning that work to be able to streamline who it comes to, second layer support, and then in-job and embedded training for those initiatives, not continuing to add on new initiatives to what we're doing. So family notification of a reading deficiency. So our students in grades VPK to 3, and this is in statute, if they perform on standardized assessments, and it can go down to a screening, teacher observation, and the school identifies that student as having a reading deficiency at a significant level, we put them into what's called our reading deficiency process. So what that looks like is we triangulate data, meaning we use multiple pieces of data to be able to identify these students. So we look at both their FAST assessments, we look at their iReady diagnostic percentile, and then we look at screening results. So a one-on-one screener specifically on phonics and phonological awareness, which eliminates some of that that tech administration pieces that sometimes just tricks kids up. So it's important to me that we have that data in front of us as well. So when students have data that's kind of telling us there's just a deficiency in reading, and it doesn't have to be reading holistically, it certainly is most often phonics, phonological awareness from the beginning, we act quickly. The statute requires us to not wait, but we know that to be best practice anyways. So what happens is that a team rallies, we rally support, which includes the family and guardian of the students, and they decide what they're going to do about that in school. So often that means the student is going to immediately be added into a Tier 3 intervention. So they will be continuing to get Tier 1 instruction on grade level, on grade level benchmarks. They'll also get a small group with their classroom teacher to be like a double dose or an additional scaffold of what would be a prerequisite skill that the student might be missing. All of this is determined by data, not just our feelings or our gut. And then additionally, they would receive Tier 3 interventions through an ESE certified teacher that's going to be very prescriptive to what that student needs. So we don't wait, we go all the way there. Then what we do once they're identified into that process is we make sure the family has access to the plan, what we're doing, what it looks like. They know who to call with any questions or any needs. They get a monthly report of how the student is responding to that intervention. Our families have, constant access to their grades and things like that in Skyward, but this is something that you wouldn't be able to have free access to without our process. So we make sure our process is very clear on communication with families, which does include translation for families who need that. And then we provide them with resources. So we get them the Flagler School's Read at Home plan, which has a lot of what they can do at home. We provide them with the University of Florida Parent Hub, which has videos and exemplars, the New World's Reading Free Book program. So we basically make sure that they are very privy and provide any support needed to the support they have at home. And that's really the reading deficiency process. One addition to our CERP this year is that we, at the beginning of the year, will be making students eligible if they scored a level 1 the previous year. So meaning no data really showed us until the end of the year that they had a deficiency. So at the beginning of the year, we're just going to triangulate that data very quickly to just make sure it wasn't a bad day at the end of last year, and then we're going to move really quickly. So interventions can start at the very beginning of September for those students.
And while that doesn't, it's not the same process at the secondary level. The secondary schools for our students that do take the test in 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 also do that. As students are moving up, coming from 5th grade into 6th or any other grade level shift, they're already in May and June looking at those level 1s to put them into some intensive reading courses as well.
That's a good clarification. So the statute does require it VPK to 3, but we have that system in place and we've proven that it works. So a lot of schools have now opted to just do that as a common practice for all students. So speaking of MTSS, so MTSS stands for the multi-tiered system of supports. All of our students are in the MTSS process, meaning everyone gets Tier 1 instruction and they're monitored for success to see if that's working for them, if they're proving by data that they're mastering our benchmarks. If not, we have very clear definitions outlined in our CERP of when the team or a team member would say, hey, we're showing data that we need to come closer and talk about Kristen. Let's look at her data, let's talk about attendance, social emotional needs, anything that might come up that's identified in some of the data we're looking at. And the team then decides what intervention would be the most appropriate, as well as what level or intensity of intervention would be the most appropriate. This system is something that Ms. Lazowski, who will be with us at our next meeting, she collaborates well with Amy and I, or with Jamie and I, and we are working on fine-tuning that even more next year. Meaning we're going to give our stakeholders some more guidance on the types of questions to be asking. So literacy coaches, when you're attending these meetings, what kind of curriculum questions, what kind of instructional practices, because you are the expert of that, what can you be bringing to the table? So that way everyone at the table is well versed to be able to support these students. We as a teaching and learning department provide guidance to our school-based teams on what interventions work well and have proven to work well for students in multiple tiers. And then the resources you see in the CERP all meet the state guidelines. There are expectations that the interventions that we use have an evidence rating known by as an ESSA rating. So we make sure that we're in compliance with all of those things. And we also work out, especially through the beginning of the school year, we meet with MTSS coordinators and literacy coaches to be sure they're very well posed to answering questions about what intervention is best for what type of student need and why. So that way they can make those expert level decisions on their campuses.
An interview just again to support the work that we are doing with our campuses. Our CERT is a good reflection of that. And we continue to make our focuses setting student achievement goals in reading and doing everything we can to help our students get to those goals, supporting professional development with our coaches and our teachers, setting literacy coach roles and maintaining those roles and responsibilities and expectations, and of course always developing and supporting our MTSS decisions. So we appreciate your time and look forward to discussing the SERP with you.
So we'd love to answer any questions that you have. Ms. Ruddy, we are available to answer the questions that you had already sent us, if that's appropriate now. So we had a couple questions sent to us today. So one of the things was about the VPK data, and I know I spoke to that a little bit. Was there additional questions that you had
Maybe we
around
just share
why
for the
we
good of the
are?
group.
Sure. So the question was understanding on the VPK data, which there's a table that shows you the goal setting.
Page 3.
So it's on page 3. If you guys could open the actual document, please, and go to page 3, I'd appreciate it. So yep, right there, perfect. So because we are, right now, our last school year, we had 94% of our students scoring proficient, which according to the state is at 40th percentile or above. So our goal is to just maintain greater than 90. The reason we said greater than 90 is because we don't have baseline data on these groups of students who are coming. So we want to just be sure that we continue to have high expectations, and 90% at proficient is very high expectations. So that's something we hold ourselves accountable to. And the why behind is kind of really the same answer. The why behind we want less than 5% to score at less than 10th percentile is, again, we don't know yet who's going to be joining us in VPK, what their current baseline data is. We're very excited that this year it was at 0.4%. In previous years, it's been 3-4%. So we are open to feedback and conversations around that, certainly, if you have additional questions.
Well, my concern was that the prompt from this template from the state says that the goals for the plan year should increase from the previous year. So I understand the challenge of not having data on incoming students, but I was wondering if there was a practice of, well, when they do come in and we have that progress monitoring assessment, is that updated at that point and say, okay, well, last year we went from 0.4 to whatever percent. Can we do that same growth here? Because I know you have to have the starting point specific to the group of students that you have, but I'm just not sure that we're in alignment with the intention of this particular section of the template.
I love your idea. So what I was thinking when you were talking, it makes, once this is kind of signed off by you, us approved at the board, and then Just Read Florida, it is kind of the plan. But if I'm understanding you correctly, maybe there's a grow for us that this could be a living document in-house, where now we have PM1 data.
Right.
You guys as a crop of students at VPK have shown us that you are at this, proficiency level, and we do think we can push you to 95%.
Like if the last group we grew by, if we improve their scores by 20%, let's improve this group's by 22%.
I love
right,
that
if it's
idea.
supposed to be growth-based.
Or to the point of the 10% was at 3 and now we have it down to 0.4.
Right.
Are we able to make those adjustments year over year?
So would the board like to see like a mid-year update on data and goals?
Yeah, actually, I think across all of our academics, really, I know we have the big school improvement plan update mid-year, but I'm thinking more of this, especially in our core areas, to have a quarterly update on the progress that we're heading towards. And if that means we need to concentrate that on a particular area each quarter, that's fine, because I know comprehensive reporting can be
what I would request is that we align it with our data chat schedule that we do with our schools. So we do our data chats with our schools, and then we then build that in, which ends up being about once a quarter that we're doing it, but we can absolutely do that.
I would love that. So then I would like, if you guys are approved to it, I'd like to do that for other grades too. I know your question was specific to VPK, but to your point, maybe there can be more stringent and high expectation goal shifts for other grade levels as well.
Yes, that would be wonderful.
Okay.
My other question, and it kind of relates to the 90%. The majority of this plan focuses on students who are either not making gains, who are below proficiency, whereas a SERP, to my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that its intent is about our whole reading instruction program. And so I do feel that this is light-handed when it comes to growing, defining those strategies for growing students who are on grade level or above grade level. Like, how do we get a 3 to be a 4? How do we get a 4 to stay a 4, right? And I know that's difficult because of the legal demands and requirements of students who are below the threshold. But, you know, if we don't plan for it, then we're not going to do it. And now that we're seeing these gains, we're catching up, as you said, pre-COVID levels, which is rare among school districts right now. I feel like we should capitalize on that and look at our different buckets as a whole, and are we growing? Are we doing the strategies that are going to be robust to move students to higher levels of achievement, not just the minimum of let's get them to pass?
Right. Thank you for that. So I agree, it definitely, and really that's outlined by statute. A lot of statute is how are you going to grow your
Right,
bottom.
there's requirements. we
Yes,
have to
and
meet.
we do have plans in place, and so I think to your point, we could do a better job and come back to you with it at our next meeting. We're here with you for the 3 o'clock and elaborate to you on the professional learning that we have planned to be sure that we're meeting. And when we say all students, it includes students who are high achieving, it includes students who need enrichment. I think also with more clarity around what some of the assessments are and how it's going to be used to differentiate high for students who have data. So I know the plans are there, so we can elaborate on next meeting, if that's okay with you,
Thank you.
on what
I
that would be.
appreciate, you know, your, you know, absorbing that and considering that information. The other large area of question that I had is that a good portion of this is how do we ensure that our literacy coaches are skilled to provide the supports and the training for the teachers. And within that component, it focused on job-embedded training. But I guess that's the question is, right, you're just 2 folks. Who is coaching the coaches, right? How are we being, I guess, forward enough and or strategic enough on providing them the unique PD that they need to go then and service our teachers?
I love this question. So I was a school-based literacy coach for 10 years, and so I take great pride in this position to be able to provide support to our school-based coaches that I did not receive. Or that I needed differently, and those options just were not available to me. We are a party of 2, but we call ourselves, you know, we're the strong, mighty, and always willing. Literacy coaches are our people. And so we even did surveys with them at the end of the school year to say, like, please be honest. How can we support you differently? Or how can we support you more? Or what did we do that we felt like was support that didn't really land well for you? It was kind of a neutral impact. So we're consistently seeking feedback, and I know you have a few things to add to that too.
Yeah, and I think Kristen and I are really good about meeting them where they're at and seeing what they need individually. I meet with mine once a week, no less than once a week, and we individualize what their needs are. So we've got coaches that are coming in with years of coaching experience and coaches coming in with 1 or 0. And so we're kind of meeting them where they're at. We do a little bit of everything. You know, we're training them on how to understand their standards if they're coming to us with very little knowledge about that. We're talking to them about how to coach their people. We're actively seeking any PL that we can. We've brought in, you know, people from other districts to come and speak to our people. We sign them up for NEFAC and Lastinger Center, and we get them involved in, you know, becoming state-trained literacy coaches, which we have 2 or 3 this year that became state-trained literacy coaches, state endorsed. So we're actively seeking what we can to get them the professional learning, but when we can't bring anyone else in, Kristen and I are it. We're doing the work as best as we can.
And if I could just
Even
add,
if it's that that certified literacy coach training,
Yes,
if
the
we say,
endorsement.
hey, we would like to increase the numbers by 50% on who's qualified for that. Or, you know, what is your ask? Are you seeking research-based training just for literacy coaches or something similar to that? I know that can be difficult. Often we send them to trainings.
The more difficulty in that, if I may, is that we are only given a limited number per year through the licensing, and so we literally got 2 this year. Number of
Lot-
seats? Yes, number of
Seats,
seats.
yeah, across
So
the
we got
state,
two
yeah.
this
So
year.
they,
Kristen got
they
one.
dole it out.
Yes.
Yes, based off need, and we do not have a high need according to the state as far as people that they need in front of them. But what I will say is we are strategists, and so we
Yes.
get a hold of those presentations, and we then
Right.
participate and train the trainer and deliver that. We do meet with our coaches face-to-face for a full day at minimum once a month, and half of our days are professional learning. So we go through whatever our district need is or school-based specific needs and bring that training to us as a team. We call ourselves the district literacy leadership team because I prefer that, honestly, one, because I'm learning it alongside of them or refreshing myself alongside of them. But then right after the training, we make a plan.
Right.
And then they go out and they are the us in every school. And we have a very close relationship with them as well as their administrators to make sure that work continues. We do also really rely, and we're very clear and in constant communication with Dr. O'Brien and the team that goes out to schools to talk about allocations and who, what qualities of a person is fit for a literacy coach and what qualifications do they need to have. And so that also is a component that's happening to make sure that the person in the seat is the right person that then can pick up this job running, because it's a big job. But PL is something that, and boy, if they ask, we find it.
We should be.
And sometimes we find it before they ask.
Well, one of the most, to me, efficient, effective, and cost conscious ways is to find school districts that are getting the results that we want to achieve. And so sending those teams of literacy coaches, math coaches out to absorb, because so much can be absorbed that can't necessarily come back and be communicated. At FSBA, we had, there was a district, Walton, that had tremendous growth, similar in terms of size, non-manufacturing, that kind of thing, where they were really able to turn a lot around. And so it would be amazing to see, well, what did they introduce, and take that away, and then what could we create a long-term plan around that? If you have any of those needs, I'm sure the board would be open to supporting that.
So I think, and I'd like to hear Superintendent Moore's point of view on this too. I was a school-based coach when we were all allowed to go to Nassau County, and we visited the Yulee centers because they had high-achieving data, but they had very similar resources, and we were all struggling at this time with our resources, similar data, percentage of students with disabilities, and they allowed us to come and see classrooms, talk about their planning. And so what we left from that trip was the power of the coach in collaborative planning. And that really launched the initiative that I believe set us on the path of discovering solution tree in the PLC process, because the coach is essential in that work, which is why we outline their job description so that way they can be coaching. And Dr. O'Brien and the team talks to admin religiously on how to use this allocation for a coach. So to your point, we have successes because we implemented that in Nassau. What would you add?
What I would add is the work that we are doing around our Tier 1 instruction is really helping us to see our whole organization move. And I agree with you that we should include information that says specifically the things that we're doing, even to move students who are already on grade level or above grade level, because that work is being done, especially when we are sharing and doing professional learning with our teachers on the importance of their Tier 1 instruction, but the importance of our students reaching their learning gains, which is such a critical piece. And so for the past 3 years, what I feel like we've done very well is taking it back to the basics of how does all of this play a part, and being very clear on what we have as expectations for individuals. And so to your point around support and professional learning for our coaches is really the protection of their time. And so prior to, our coaches were, mini islands. And so now we have created a system where, as an organization, this is what we are seeing at all of our schools. There's still some differences per school, but as an organization, this is the way of work that we're doing, and we are protecting their time. Now, There are some schools that we've already identified that we need to have a different conversation with their leadership team to ensure that their position looks more like a coach than it does like a administrator for sure, like a testing coordinator or any of those things, because the power and what you as a board are investing in to ensure we have a coach at every school. Not every district has that. Those are positions that districts are cutting, but we have a coach allocated at every school, and we need them to be coaching so that our teachers are supported and we can see the growth that we are experiencing across the organization.
Okay, that's wonderful. My final question is, if we were to institute an early release day one time a month, what kind of changes or how would you utilize that time?
Please.
I will say, and I feel confident that I speak for Kristen and I both, I think our concern would be what is the intent behind the half day, because if it's, I shudder to say this and upset anyone, but if it's just to provide more planning, I would like to know what the intention is with the planning and how that is going to impact.
I can clarify. In my mind, we need more professional, secure, protected professional development time.
Love
So that's
that.
why I'm asking,
Love
how
that.
do you think that would move the needle? Do you see districts who have implemented this and have been able to get maybe initiatives across or increase fidelity for curriculum programs quicker?
I don't know that we
Would
have
it-
any accessible data that shows its impact and how those other districts are doing. We could absolutely use the time for professional learning. We've got professional learning ideas that we don't have time to implement. Now, what I think we are doing great as a district, though, is we are utilizing the opportunities that we already have in place.
Mhm.
August 18th is our next upcoming day where we've got teacher choice and professional learning set up across many different content areas. Our coaches are all coming back from, they just recently attended the literacy summer trainings, and my 4 coaches, many of her coaches are all coming back and providing that immediate learning to our teachers. So I think that that is something we already have in place as a district. My concern with having those half days would be the impact on our students, and does it really move that literacy needle like we need it to, or are we trading one thing for
Exactly.
another evil?
Because if you think about our most vulnerable students, them having less instruction is not a good thing. And them having a change in structure is also not a good thing, a change in scheduling. And I would add, so when we have district-wide PL, we are able to really ensure high-quality options. My concern, one of my concerns with a half-day, across campuses would be the barrier of they're in multiple locations, right? Because we probably wouldn't be able
You'd
to
be
then
spread too
rally.
thin, is what
And
you're
we are
saying.
the 2 people. And so then that would lead to some watered down options, some school-based options. Not that that is not high quality at times, because it certainly is. But if it's that frequent, it's going to end up being an afterthought at some point. The districts I'm privy to and the district teams that I'm coaching, their half days are really geared more towards teacher planning, and they would have rather have what we have, which is full designated days of professional learning, because they don't have that. It seems like you don't get both. It's from what I'm understanding from districts around us. But certainly I'm sure there's other people that could clarify that. And I think we have really done a great job of moving the needle on the high quality PL that we're offering. And our school leaders are doing a great job of getting to yes when there's a training that a couple of people have had and they want it spread. They figure out how, the means, and we come and we deliver. And so I think we're not even always as tied to a traditional planning period anymore like we used to be. I think our leaders are getting creative on how to spread quality PL within the boundaries of our schedule. So we're moving in the right direction.
Absolutely. At the secondary level, our administrators have been great about saying, we're going to run this PL 4 times today. We're going to give you this chunk of teachers now and this chunk of teachers later, and we're making it work. We're doing work the best that we can to get in there.
Chair, may I?
Mr. Bird.
Thank you. Outstanding presentation. The achievement in our goals is just amazing and something absolutely to celebrate for our whole organization. And I am encouraged, I heard you say something about professional learning and how you have a bunch of plans that we don't have time to implement, but you have them in the hopper, right? And I think that is fantastic. It just shows that we are thinking ahead. We want to be ready to meet needs rather than try and catch up to them when they happen. So kudos to that effort. But my question is surrounding the family notification for readiness. So 2 parts to that. One, what does that look like for a parent, that notification? Is it an individual reaching out? Is it an email? That type of thing. And then how are we seeing parents respond to that? Because we're giving them supports here that you list out right below. How are they responding to that, and how are they implementing that? And are we seeing that implementation and that collaboration, ultimately work to or achieving us higher proficiency?
I love your questions.
Yes.
So the method behind initial contact is defined as communication, and I'm very clear with all stakeholders in this process that communication has to be both ways. So if you've tried it one way, and our families do, they complete the surveys and tell us which method of communication they prefer, but not everybody does that, or not everybody will answer the way that they say that they prefer. So we do rely on schools and teachers being able to be flexible and try multiple methods of communication. But it is the expectation that every family member is not only notified, but has a conversation about what the data was that had the student, I hate to say flagged, but identified as a need, and what that looks like, how we are going to help at school, and specifics. So if you attend Bunnell Elementary, for example, they have a system that's walked intervention. So their student might go to pup time, and this is going to be their pup time teacher, and this is what they're going to work on. Like, get really specific so the families can visualize what's going to happen with their student. And then the monthly notification is a form that we have created. And so it's very universal. They identify the data, the actual numbers, so what the goal is for this intervention, where the students are performing with data points every 2 weeks, and then what the team is suggesting as next steps, but then the parent gives communication around, do they agree, do they disagree, and it's something that they sign off and then we keep. So based off the data of how the trend line is going. So let's say I'm a first grader and I am working on learning my letters. Well, I might be making progress on that, but maybe my progress is so small and the rate of first grade expectations is so high. So I might say, yes, Mom, Kristen's making progress. However, it's not fast enough. So we are saying, yes, progress has been made, because there is a little checkbox, like we're seeing progress, we're not seeing progress, or it's flat. However, because of the acceleration rate, we are going to add some additional supports. Here's what that's going to look like. And here's another way you can help at home. So there is very clear if and how. Now, some students are already receiving intervention on things like their IEP, right? So if they already have specially designed instruction, those families would be coming to an IEP meeting and having that conversation as a team. They also might be identified as a multi-language learner, so they have an English language learner plan. Students who are here or learning English underneath 2 years, we don't add them to the multiple tier system of supports team, because it's at that point, it's language acquisition. They need time, they need to assimilate to English. However, we have staff that our district has prioritized to be able to accelerate those students in acquiring language. So their interventions look a little different, but the process is the same. So the families will be communicated in the method of communication, which includes language, that they need, and they're going to be given an ELL intervention plan that says what the goals are, what we're working on for expressive language, vocabulary, things like that. That would be specific to English language learners. And then it is on the form, but also it's an expectation that it's part of the communication from our staff that at any point, any family, including families with students in this process, can ask for a meeting, ask for a conference, ask for a call. You want to talk to the interventionist, perfect, we'll set that up.
Excellent.
So that's part of the process.
That's very well thought out. Seems like it's working well. And just when it comes to the parents, though, have you gotten feedback on the supports and advice that we're giving them? Are they seeing it as something that they can digest and implement at home?
That's a great question. So I am lucky enough to be able to attend a lot of our community events that support literacy. I have a side project of providing books to families in our community. And often when I talk to families, I talk to them about the New Worlds Reading Initiative, which is where they can get free books at home. And I have a QR code usually with me with the district reading plan. And a lot of times, and this is not formal data, right? This is just observational. Oh, yes, we have that. Or, oh, the teacher sent it, let me do that. Or, oh, we love that. We've been doing that since last year. So the families that I encounter on a regular basis, including my personal time in the community, it seems as if we're doing a good job getting that information, but I am going to think about how to.
Yeah, I'm looking at it
quantify
from a parent's perspective, right?
Mhm.
You know, we've got amazing teams here,
Yes.
very intelligent. They understand how to educate children. That's why they're professionals working at our institution,
Right.
our learning institution. But a parent, you know, is not necessarily trained that same way. So the only question I have there is that is delivered in a way that's digestible by the parent, that they can say, I get that, and I can actually implement that at home here. That's where I'm saying, and it may very well be doing just that. But I would just say it might be another measure to get that feedback from the parents on that, because that could only improve things from that end.
Right.
If we make it easier on them, the more than likely, the more
That's right.
participation that we're going to get from them. So just
So we were very choosy on the resources that we added to our reading plan, but to your point, like for example, the University of Florida Parent Hub is videos of a parent, not of an educator, reading to their child and talking about questions you can ask. But I can get with our communications team and be sure those are spotlighted also just in isolation on socials and things like that.
Or
just give it
even
another avenue.
adding to the bottom of the document a more passive survey that says, like, is this helpful? Like the yes or no, was
Like a
this helpful?
feedback on the
You know,
bottom of the document.
Yeah.
I like that, okay. Thank you for that.
And one of the things that I would say as a board, you know, just really reflecting on, again, nothing that is numbers that we can quantify right now, but we definitely will work towards that, is you as a board and we as a staff are getting less families that are in the community saying to you, we've been waiting and waiting and waiting, right? That is almost something we never hear anymore because of the very structured work that we've been doing. That if a student or family, if a parent identifies my child is struggling in this area, we're not waiting. We say, okay, here's how we're going to intervene while we're also going to be collecting other data. And so we definitely do not get nearly as many
Right.
of those things, but it will be interesting for us to look at ways that we could add a question directly from families for their feedback around the
And see clicks on
resources
the
that.
website.
Yeah.
And I was even thinking, Chief Chong, when you were talking about the VPK event, that we have just done such a great job of internal communication. Like Dr. O'Brien and I were filmed in a commercial for VPK last week, and Ms. Rizzo already asked me to come to their 2 events to be able to share this information with families who aren't even Flagler Schools families yet. So we're just doing a good job of rallying together to be sure, let's not wait for them to have questions, let's give them information.
Because what's our goal, Ms. Frank, for 3rd grade?
Our goal is in 5 years, we're going to be at 90% proficient in 3rd grade, and we are doing a great job with reduction of level 1s to get us there, which means that our phonics instruction and foundational skills in K-2 is really working. We're laser focused on where there's pockets, and that is going to be support that we give to school leadership to help support those teachers, because averages, as you know, can be really skewed if there's a couple of outliers, and so that's something. And then with the professional learning around the best standards, expectations of testing, I'm going to get there in 4. She said, I'm going to get there in 5. She told me a few weeks ago we're going to get there in 4. So we'll see.
And we're not, like, we believe
We do.
in
We
the
believe
work
in
of
it.
it.
We do.
And our ability to do it. So I
do.
want to thank the foundation for jumping in on the VPK piece of it. Next year, we're going to hit over 70% for 3rd
Yep.
grade.
Yep.
We're going to have a school, one school that definitely will be over 80%, and the other ones will be lagging just a little bit behind them, and we're gonna hit 90%. And we're
And the
gonna do
schools that
everything
are
in our power
lagging
to
are
do it.
making double-digit gains.
Double-digit gains every
Year after
year.
year, and so just don't want that to be conceived as something other than what it
Chair
is.
Chong, I have a few things
Yeah.
before we.
And I just have one last thing, and then, but thank you for those answers. They were
Thank you
very
for the
helpful. And I do want to just speak to something Superintendent Moore had mentioned about the parents waiting, and that is something that the district deserves some additional credit, because that was a strong board direction that we gave just after I was elected, because that was one of the biggest criticisms. Parents were saying, I can't get the resources in alignment for my student. I'm on a waiting list. That has almost ended, and I don't remember the last time I fielded an email with that criticism. So that all credit goes to you guys for filling in the gap there. So well done.
All right, Ms. Ramirez.
And Mr. Furry, that's a great segue for
Good.
mine, because as a parent, you know, I want to acknowledge the hard work that you both have been doing. Your heart obviously is in this, and not everyone can do what you're doing, so you are specialized in this, and we're very lucky. But as a parent, you know, I have seen just the MTSS, so you mentioned it on the slide, but 2017, from then to now, just as a parent, like the resources provided, whether it's through these meetings, emails, you know, teachers, you know, whatever it may be, conferences, it has grown so high of knowing what MTSS is from a parent perspective. And for parents that don't know, you may not need to know, but if you need to know, you probably know, and if you don't, you will know, because it's just grown. So I want to acknowledge the notification wise of, you know, explaining it, and then also as a parent, so Mr. Furry was asking, so I do like the acknowledgement, you know, on the bottom, like, oh, did this resource help you? Obviously you can, you know, yes, no, maybe, but that will help. But I'll tell you, as a parent, the resources are helping. Like, there's no even words to say, and I think, like, the past few years, just seeing, you know, data points go up, but because of coming to people like you and like the literacy coaches, so it really is working. So the change that Ms. Moore, you have initiated, and then even prior, but it's very noticeable from parents that have been utilizing the services. And obviously we can be better, right? Everyone can always be better, but we have been really great. And I was that parent complaining 7 years ago. I have no complaints. Parents, I do not get the complaints, and if we ever do get a complaint, it's more of a question, and it's just not knowing. And so that's why with the EPAC initiative, I think the resources, you know, and obviously involving you folks as well more will be really great too, so stay tuned. But I do want you to know, I want you to acknowledge, like, and so hopefully that answers your question. It's definitely helping, but I do like, you know, the data. Everything should be data-based, and just that simple question, I think, will help you know, so no one's wasting their time, but you are not wasting your time, I promise you, so thank you. Hillsborough County, I know we talked about this several months ago, but they utilize the half-day, so if that's something you think that your team may want to explore, if it would help or not help, maybe reach out to Hillsborough County. They do a half-day initiative with professional learning, professional development, and again, their district is much different than ours, but if you're ever thinking, would it work for your team? Yes, it would. No, it won't. They would be a great resource, so Hillsborough County. And just two kind of questions that you talked about. So you mentioned a goal of literacy, the leadership, increasing your capacity numbers. Is there, like, how would you do that? Is there something that you need support on that, or what is your thought process of increasing the capacity for
It's
that?
not so much in increasing the numbers. All of our schools currently have a literacy team or literacy leadership team. It's making sure that those are being used effectively, that they're discussing the things that needed to be discussed, that they're focused on the literacy happening in our schools, and most of them are doing an excellent job at that. But we've got some newer principals, some newer administrators, so making sure that everyone understands the process, what we're doing at those meetings, how we can, as teams, support the schools, and also them knowing what resources they have available, how they can utilize Kristen and I, how their coaches can be supportive.
what
just
is the
making
data
sure that-
showing?
Yeah.
Yes, what's your data showing?
And the design of the literacy leadership team, this part is outlined in statute. So there's multiple stakeholders. The principal is meant to be the lead of the team.
Yes.
However, literacy coaches are a required member, media specialists are a required member because instructional materials is absolutely part of the plan. And what the goal is internally for our literacy leadership teams is to be looking at school level data in such a timely way that you can identify trends and pivot before it's on an assessment that's already completed. We provide professional learning to the literacy leadership teams, so that way they can go and disperse that to their grade level peers or even throughout their PLC process. So back in the day, we used to all volunteer for committees. You were on different committees if you were here in Flagler, and this is a big commitment if you're on the literacy leadership team, but those folks inside with the schools, with the literacy coaches, believe in the work. So just say when you guys are having your conversations with your school leaders, maybe talking about or asking about the topic of the literacy leadership team last month, it'd be interesting to see. And then I bet they would be excited to talk to you about that and excited to talk to you about what they're doing.
Okay.
And certainly where they're stuck, because then you could bring that, help encourage them to reach out.
Absolutely, and if you do hear anyone that says, well, we meet and we don't really know why we meet, we're there for it.
Yeah.
No judgment, better
No
now than
judgment,
never.
give us the
Yeah,
time
no,
to
no,
be there,
and increasing monitoring, so were you to increase monitoring on your literacy coaches, is that you specifically going to the campuses, or is that more of the data sharing and you're tracking like your Google
Great
Docs?
question. So there is a required monitoring piece. We do that through their Google Calendars. We're a very Google Calendar driven organization, at least in the coaching lane. But the increased monitoring is actually going to come from district leadership and their conversations with principals, like Superintendent Moore was saying, to be sure that the position is being used the way it's designed from the principal's level. Because ultimately, obviously, the literacy coach would comply if the principal gave them a different directive. So it's more on training the principals to not do that and take them out of their lane.
And I think where it comes down to us is the conversations that we're having with our literacy coaches and making sure that they feel like the work that they are doing is the greatest impact that they can have. They will tell us if they're being used in ways that they don't feel is impactful, so.
Well, wonderful job, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Ramirez, she mentioned, you talked about being a parent, and I just know as parents, we all understand the upward climb for some of these children and the amount of time that it takes and the hard work. And it takes time to get where we're at, and we just really appreciate you all and thank you. And it shows the excellence that's happening in our classroom. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great presentation.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Well, we'll be back to your 3 o'clock in a few weeks, and we'll be ready for more questions.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
6.02, thank you. Strategic plan update, Dr. Angela O'Brien.
Good afternoon, Board, Chair, Superintendent Moore. I am before you today with another update on our strategic plan progress, and today we'll be focused on reviewing the survey results that went out to the community on our different goal areas that you all had identified. All right, so diving right in, our respondent demographics, we had a total of 423 responses. We did send the survey through the Thought Exchange platform. That was on May 29th. It is closed now. We sent to all staff and parents through staff email. We sent through Parent Square, and then again on social media and the website with a few follow-ups in June. You will notice that of the responses, their roles total more than 100%. That's because they could multi-select how they were filling the survey out. So they might be a parent and an employee, for example. We did have a large amount of employees filling out the survey, as you can see. And then to highlight their time working or living in Flagler County, the majority of our respondents have been involved in the county for 13 plus years. So for each of the goal areas, you'll see a favorability score, and the question that was asked for each goal area was to rate the importance of focusing our efforts on the following areas, and the areas are listed on the left. The favorability score is showing you a combination of who rated that particular area as very important and somewhat important grouped together. That's all that is.
So it's not really necessarily a positive sentiment, it's what's the average percentage of importance that most of the respondents
It's just a
communicated?
sum of very important
Okay.
and somewhat.
So when I see favorability, to
Important.
me, that means they have a positive sentiment around that area, whereas you're saying it's really an average of the two largest buckets of
Mhm.
the somewhat or very important.
Mhm. That's correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So if I'm to interpret that, let's just say on goal area 1, they're saying that to them, the core academic achievement is more important than the diploma designation.
That's
all
correct.
it means.
That's
Okay,
correct.
gotcha.
Yep. That a higher number of respondents are rating those two higher categories, yes. So you can see if you could go back to goal area 1 real quick, and we'll go through each goal area and then talk about some of the topics that they added as well. So highest favorability was around core academic achievement, and right after that was graduation rate, college and career acceleration, and then success of students with disabilities. As compared to our current strategic plan, we had goal area 1 academic and then educational equity in another goal area. We are now recommending that we pull in the target around success of students with disabilities into academic success, so in with this goal area. Go ahead. For goal area 2, this was rated, safety and resiliency was rated as the highest favorability among all of the different goal areas. So you can see they are our community, our parents, our employees are very concerned about mental health supports, behavior, student attendance. So those received high favorability. Within talent, high
And for the community, and just kind
Yes.
of reiterating what Ms. Ruddy said, what that is saying is they want this board to put their efforts in these categories as we move forward into the next strategic plan.
Under the goal area of talent, we're seeing the highest favorability around quality and effectiveness of professional learning for educators. This does make a lot of sense given a high number of our respondents were our employees. And so they are certainly looking for that, as well as recruitment and retention and leadership development. Under organizational efficiency and fiscal responsibility, highest favorability again was around that safe and well-maintained schools, so focus on our facilities and their safety. Financial transparency was another high favorability score as well. And then for goal area 5, communication and engagement, communication with families was rated the highest, and as well as, timely crisis communication, but then communication with families. We had added on some topic areas of participation in teacher conferences and inclusion of families in academic advising. One of the things that we've been working on and establishing systems around are ensuring that all of our rising ninth graders have access to a family, a session with their guidance counselor that their family can participate in. And so our recommendation would be that we leverage those topics as priority strategies for either engagement or within academic success, as we certainly see that those are a priority area as well. In each of the goal areas, the respondents were asked if there were any other focus areas that we should consider prioritizing. These were the topics that really came up within looking at all of those different goal areas. So technology use, screen time was called out as an area, employee compensation and benefits. We believe as the strategic plan committee looked at employee compensation and benefits and certainly see it as an area of priority, but we believe it might better fit into a priority strategy rather than the actual measurable target. And then social skills and whole student education, again, there was a lot of trend around talking about student behavior, mental health supports, and then fiscal transparency came up among several goal areas. And so really today, we're asking, as you look at this data as a board, this is really your opportunity to, add any additional priorities or clarify priorities that you would like for us to move forward on. Our next steps will be to work with the committee and with our department leads to develop some measurable targets within these focus areas that reflect your priorities and reflect the priorities of our community and employees as well. And then we'll be bringing the draft back to you in July.
Ms. Ruddy.
First, when it says other topics, respondents rated of higher importance, and I'm seeing a correlation between the AI and the technology use of screen time. What I think I would like to ensure we do is that we are educating our parents about how we use screen time, because right now there's this national sentiment, right, which when you look at data about how much screen time parents are allowing their children at home, that's a disparate kind of directive. What makes our county different from many of the other counties I see in terms of how they use screen time, we, number one, have a very robust tech department where it's filled, sure, with people who have the technology knowledge around software and things of that nature, but it's also filled with those who are educators and understand how to evaluate and apply technology and software in effective ways. You just heard our ELA team talk about differentiated instruction, small group. You're not doing that with one person in the room, right, without additional technology supports and software. So I think that sometimes people are assuming all technology is a waste of time or they're allowed to spend X number of hours watching YouTube. We are very strategic and thoughtful about the apps that are allowed to be on school-issued devices and around teaching and supporting teachers how to use those tools in effective ways. So before we would necessarily say, okay, they're telling us to reduce screen time, I think we've gotten many of our gains because of the effective use of technology, and to reverse that would be a detriment. I would rather us educate our parent team members first. The other element here is
May I just add
yes,
just
please.
something to that, Ms. Ruddy? I absolutely agree, because we can bring some information back when we bring the strategic plan back, because I do believe that there is an assumption around the amount of time that students spend on technology in our classroom, that they are spending more time than they're actually spending. But when they are spending time on their devices, what meaningful work are they doing on there with it? And so we definitely can push some more information out to our families about that, especially with all of the narrative that's going around this topic across our country. We will bring information back related to that.
Right. The only other area in terms of what was asked in this survey, I'm not sure it was crystal clear about, I know it said college and career acceleration. I think that folks might interpret that as dual enrollment or graduating early or AP, IB, ACE, all that stuff, and not necessarily the exploration of, do we pull some of the trades programs in under our middle and high school umbrella, as opposed to, stating that's only in our for FTC programs. For example, right, when we went to Seminole, we've talked about that a couple of times, bringing in things like welding that would be career-ready roles. I don't know how clear that particular area was, or if it was segmented out enough.
Yeah, it was not. So how they read it was college and career acceleration. So they may have taken that in to mean something that it wasn't.
Because to implement those programs, that is costly. So if we're going to consider going down that road and spend taxpayer money in that way. We want to make sure that they understand, and are they giving that thumbs up? And,
Yeah.
you know, are we collaborating with the Chamber of Commerce and area industries to find out what are the needs, the skill needs that our community has?
And I believe that we have the data as well as the will of this board to add that as an area, though it may not have shown as a priority to our stakeholders, our parents, or our employees. We know how much of an impact that is to our global community. And so we definitely will make sure on the draft that we have that included, because that has been a priority of, or a direction of the board already around making sure we have those
Okay.
robust
So
programs.
you
yes.
feel, basically,
We
you feel
agree with you,
comfortable
yep.
because the other data
yes.
sources that we have.
Absolutely.
I think finally, one of the elements here, again, is, you know, ensuring that we're having growth among all students, right? And that if, you know, when we look at the students who have high needs because of perhaps they're not on grade level, how many classrooms do we have with less than, let's say, 10 students in it to support those students? But then if we've got students who want to take physics or advanced bio, we're closing those doors because there's less than 10 students there. We need to have equity amongst the whole range of student needs. And I would be interested to see, you know, what is the sentiment or interest of the people to spend money in areas where maybe there are fewer students who may sign up for those, because it's addressing the broad range of needs.
And I can say from our work as through our continuous improvement cycles, and particularly the time we've spent in our principal data chats, that spending time and energy on ensuring that our learners that need to be accelerated or stretched or enriched, that has been a topic among all grade levels. And so whether it lands as a target or a priority strategy, I can certainly see it within this plan, that we are taking steps to ensure that there is access to enrichment opportunities.
Yeah. It's a mindset, right?
Yes.
We do it over on this side for different reasons, right? That we have to, well, how is it that we ensure that we're not limiting those who need a higher level on this side of the spectrum, as far as like having to the courses that you've mentioned? Do we have the same mindset of ensuring that there may be only 10 students or 15 students that need this course? Are we going to offer it, or are we going to say no? Yeah. We'll definitely add that.
Sure.
Mr. Furry.
Okay, so yes, I'm pleased to see that the community sees a lot of focus in the academics and attendance, and safety and security is also a high priority. That is great. I think that correlates directly with the fact that we were able to, they blessed the school with the half-penny sales tax, which allows us to expand in that area. And we have done a lot of improvements to our schools through that. So thank you to the community. That is going to allow us to also build off that and meet that request that you placed in this survey. And the other thing is interesting to me is on the bottom, other topics of high importance, which were technology use, and then the other, social skills and whole student education. And I often, when I meet with our community and with our stakeholders, you know, everybody here is coming from a different generation and looking at it through a different lens. You know, being a Gen Xer, we were the first generation to see the internet, right, and mainstream. So that didn't come till later on in my education. And we have some members of our community that a simple calculator took up a whole gymnasium. So technology has evolved, and how it's implemented looks differently to everybody out there. And I think it is important for us to communicate as a district how these technology devices are used in the classroom, because there is a misunderstanding by some parents that we're just putting a pad with YouTube on and saying, okay, I'm going to do some work here, go just watch some YouTube videos, right? That's not happening, right? And we just need to, I think, an initiative actually, just in general, just saying, you know, maybe having things, this is how we use technology at Flagler Schools, a simple PSA that can get out there. But I do believe there is some tie-in to the social skill part of this here that we have to address. Because I'll say firsthand, I see it with some of our young people in the community that may be working at a cash register or something like that. And sometimes their communication skills are to carry a conversation are challenged, and showing emotion and reaction. And I believe that has less to do with the screen time at school and technology, and more the way younger people are communicating now through text messages. And you lose that ability to read off of people, understand what expressions mean on there. And I do see that, and because I see that, I think some people in the community are attributing it to the closest thing they can tie it to, and oftentimes that is to too much technology. So we have to see where that balance is and where we're developing those communication strengths within our students. So, because one thing to be able to get out and have a skill and a trade and learn it, but you also need to be able to communicate it once you leave school as well, and sell yourself and the abilities that you have to somebody that they want to hire you over somebody else. So these are just things to consider, and I think that's probably why we saw that down here at the bottom. So that's all I have to add.
Chair, can I just add? I think some of the social skill and whole student education goes. A few years ago, we would hear often from families about the need to really address behavior, and we've seen an improvement in that because we have taken a very strong stance on our classes are going to be safe learning environments for our students, and those who deliberately disrupt will have a consequence. But I think some of this also goes to our families and our employees who are saying we have to address students who are coming in that potentially have a disability, but maybe they don't have a disability, and so some of their social skills at the time are not reflecting that of appropriate behavior for school. And so I think we're shifting that as we address students who are deliberate around disruption, that we have these individuals who many of them have disabilities that are causing a form of disruption that is addressed differently because of their disability. And I think some of this ties to that and the work we have to do and what we're seeing across our state and our country around appropriate social skills.
We have talked about that at previous board meetings where we have discussed potentially exploring some executive function curriculum. And where we're seeing that the largest, right, is when we intake students in kindergarten, first grade, and then when we get students who are transferring outside of a organized education system, or even from other school districts where maybe their emphasis, right, is not on our safety, resilience, things of that nature. So yeah, I do still see that. I see that is heavily in the elementary schools across the board, which normally, right, as a teacher, a lot of teachers, I could never teach high school. They're not going to listen to you. They're going to be disrespectful. And it's like, no, now it's K-1-2 is what has happened. So I do see the need for some of that executive functioning curriculum.
Yeah, and it may be tied to technology, it may not be, but making sure we're addressing both of
Either
them.
way, we've
Yeah,
got
we have to
Whatever the
address both of
culprit
them.
is, let's
Yep,
figure it out.
that's right, yeah.
Chair Chong, are you done, Mr.
Go ahead.
Yes, I'm done, thank you.
Quick question. So I see 2 students were in the survey. Was it meant for students specifically? I mean, were they included, or was that just literally only 2? Or
Only 2 completed it. It could have been the timing of it.
Okay.
Perhaps.
Okay.
But yeah.
Okay. And there is something that I receive, but it's not all the time. And so everyone was mentioning, the screen time, because I understand parents, they see that we have iPads, we have computers, and of course our children are utilizing them in the classroom, outside of the classroom for assignments. But it would be nice to see, because I feel like we may have it or we may not, but I get sometimes updates from a program. I can't think of the name.
Lightspeed.
What is
We'll
it?
be Lightspeed. We'll be bringing this back to you.
Okay,
On
because I
July
received
14th.
some
July.
updates, so, that could be something to look into, that it's strategic and every instructor is doing the same thing, so then, you can see, oh, they were creating a movie for their Spanish project, and with communication, I think if parents, they have to be involved more, read the parent squares, but if there was some data that across the board we were consistent and they saw that I'm giving an example, Spanish 1 students created a video game with their voice to talk and communicate. So of course they're on there for a while, but they need the technology for that. But yeah, so I know someone mentioned it. I've received some, but it's not standardized. So having that more structured would, I think, assist with this screen time point from parents.
Yeah, I would agree with that also, and I've reached out to you
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
And I forget about the light speed. It comes to us, and sometimes you go through it so quickly, but yeah, any kind of data that we could just show the community, like, this is how often our children are on tablets, I think would be great.
Yeah.
Thank you, this was
Absolutely.
good.
We'll be
All right.
bringing that back to you.
All right.
Thank you so
We will
much.
bring this back to you.
Okay,
I'm going to stay here at the table to support.
And I'm so
Mr.
sorry,
Reese.
Chair, if the board is willing, are we able to do 7.02, the dispatch router job description while Mr. Walker is here? I should have asked for time certain, as this is right at dismissal time. So if the board is willing, and I do apologize for that error.
Dispatch router job description with Mr. Walker and Mr. Walker.
Walker and Walker.
Not a law firm, just you.
Yeah, right. That's right.
We haven't used that one yet, so I'm proud of it. All right. Jeff, new board, Chair, Superintendent Moore. This afternoon in front of you, we have a minor revision to the dispatch router job description. If you look under qualifications, you will see where previously it was a requirement that they maintained a CDL Class B license with the appropriate endorsements, to now just having it be possessed or be able to obtain one. That allows transportation to have flexibility in filling these roles so that we can make sure that school buses are routed appropriately and maintaining the appropriate staff levels. Number 5 was stricken after talking with Mr. Walker, as that is not something in his experience that we are currently offering, or required to offer, I should say.
So we're not offering a crisis intervention training, like, I would imagine that the dispatcher would be pretty integral to that if we were to have that practice, but is that something we do internally?
Yes.
They wouldn't get it externally?
Yes,
That's why.
they would not
Okay.
get it externally. We identify key staff members across the organization who need that, and we are trying to be very intentional to say we're identifying those who need it and providing that training internally.
Any questions, any other further?
Chair.
Sorry.
On number 11, it's removing the, I guess, management of some of the discipline records. What is the philosophy around that? I've heard from school bus drivers that a lot of the referral or discipline communication, record keeping is a lot, and sometimes they can't necessarily fit it all within their shift. So why would we be removing that from a dispatcher who might have more flexibility?
So, and please correct me if I'm wrong, the bus incident would be if a driver got into an incident. Then that process for investigating that incident goes through there. So
I was
you wouldn't-
interpreting as student discipline, so I understand
I
now
was
because
as
they're
well.
not supervisory.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Any other questions?
All right, this will come before you at the 6 p.m. meeting this evening.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks for waiting.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, we will go back to 6.03. K through 12 instructional materials for math.
Thank you, Board. This is Jeff Reeves. I'm in Tampa, and
Is joining us.
Okay.
with the update, I'm at the Florida Summit for Learners to Earners in Tampa, so
You need to turn up the sound, one moment.
let me know when we're good.
All good.
Okay. Chairman, board members, Superintendent Moore, I'm at the Florida Chambers Learners to Earners Summit and talking about a lot of things we have in our strategic plan. So it's great to see our district coalescing behind the vision for the state. Before you today, I have a few items. One is our math adoption timeline. It is that time, again, our cycling. We just concluded our last contestation period for our world language and our health and PE. And so we're beginning our work now for our math adoption. Any questions regarding our timeline?
As you know, this will continuously come before you throughout the year.
Board Chair?
Mr. Ruddy.
Mr. Reeves, I don't have a question about the timeline, but
Okay.
what I do have a question about is, in this last year's, progress of students through algebra, and some different curriculum tools that have been used at different schools, I was wondering if on this particular adoption cycle, number one, are we going to fine-tune the fidelity of the implementation of whatever the chosen curriculum is? And two, in speaking some of the algebra educators, there seems to be in our basic math instruction that follows students from K through 6 or 7, it's very model heavy, but then you move into an algebra curriculum that is less so, specifically among one provider, which was even rated when you look at the National Clearinghouse for math curriculum. And so I'm looking for, are we going to, or is the committee being asked to look at the continuity of instructional style as we jump from those different higher level areas of math?
So thank you for the question. Great question. Yes, we will be working on the continuity of the curriculum across all of our grade levels and making sure that all of our schools are using, like for our middle schools, in the same as well as our high schools. This adoption cycle, like our others in the past, we work very closely with our instructional staff, and they provide tremendous input along with parents and students in the process. As you've seen from our presentations, the number of rubrics that they complete and provide us input. I think that's helped us across all of our disciplines. Math is the start of that cycle. This is a minimum of 5th year in this position. We're now circling back to that cycle. So that will absolutely be evident. Along with, we sent a number of folks to FCTM to help support the new adoption, and those folks that are going to be at that state conference will be participating with their schools on their committees to help support this work.
And what we can also do, Mr. Reeves, is have our algebra teachers also look at the resources that are in those leading classes as well. They usually focus in on, some of them will look at the full scope, but we can definitely ask our algebra teachers specifically to look at the prerequisite courses that are coming in, the resources that we're looking at, and have them weigh in to make sure that there is a good balance in of the resource that we have that's before they get to algebra. We can absolutely do that.
Yeah, absolutely, Ms. Moore. And the other thing that we've done this cycle now, going into math, we were able to bring our ELA teachers in with our vendors during our professional learning day that we had in April. And that allowed our staff to get direct input with our vendors and to see the materials and begin that process. So we weren't waiting until summer, or in some cases in the past, it was happening during pre-planning. We still support in pre-planning, but they're getting access to this now months in advance because of the timelines that we're building.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Okay, any other questions on this timeline? Okay, we'll move on to the MOU agreement with Flagler Auditorium Amendment 1, again with Mr. Reeves.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. Board, I want to thank you for your vision and support as we've been moving forward with our work on the Flagler Auditorium / K-12 Performing and Visual Arts position. And one of the things we've done, a couple things, we've instituted an MOU with the Flagler Auditorium Board, as well as we wrote a job description and have been moving in that direction to help solidify this position. The Auditorium Board sees the value of this position and the process, and this amendment specifically in section 5, the service and support outlines their commitment to the district for the and how it supports not just the arts in the community, but the arts in our district for our students and staff. And so they're committing, based on this amendment to the MOU, $30,000 annually to support this position for the district. It is a district position, as it's been stated, and they will be reporting to me, and that person will work with me on those pieces of parts, as long as the superintendent will the designees. Any questions regarding the MOU amendment?
I had a question, just with the $30,000, is that,
Yes, ma'am.
So you said annually, is that a flat fee, or would we be able to consider, potentially like if there were salary increases or any type of increase of cost of whatever it may be with that $30,000?
Yeah, great question. They're going to still progress through our steps. Okay, what's happening is their board is contributing on this cycle, they're going to use $30,000 to that position, and could be looked at at a later date if necessary, but we'll be moving through the steps through our district system and FRS.
Because remember, prior to this agreement, the board covers that position at 100%. And so this is their commitment to supporting the district continuing to have that program. And so next cycle, if the board, it's the pleasure of the board, we could go back and ask for any adjustments to this MOU, incling contribution.
So that's not the total salary, that's just
No.
how much
Just the
they're.
No,
Yes.
if you remember, board, Ms. Ruddy, you asked for HR to shift the lane, which we did, and we had over 50 applicants from around the country that we reviewed and interviewed and considered for the position. So it allowed for, I think, the pay and everything else, the job description, your all support and leadership in this space allowed us to cast a wide net and get a very robust group of individuals to consider for this position.
So the $30,000 is in addition to the salary, or just included?
That's their
Their
contribution
contribution.
towards,
Okay.
towards.
Toward the total.
Board Chair?
Ms. Ruddy, go ahead.
Mr. Delaney, I have a question around that. So we're saying that whatever we decide to pay this individual, the board of the auditorium must contribute $30,000 to that salary. However, what I'm wondering is, in that, there is no trigger for, well, what if they don't pay? What if their revenues fall and they're not able to come up with it? Or should there be a clause that talks about what is the process or the agreement if they can't make good on that dollar amount? Are they supposed to pay us for the year up front? Are they going to pay it equal increments throughout the year or at the end? Those kinds of considerations?
Sure, I don't think it answers those questions. The failure to comply with that portion of it would put them in breach of the contract. So,
Ms. Ruddy, if you look at section 5.5, it outlines about the annual contribution, and if they fail to follow that, there is outlined directions and mechanisms that come into play about deficiencies and support and privileges and modifications and or termination under the MOU. So there are remedies spelled out in the MOU and the amendment regarding the question.
But essentially, it's the termination of the agreement with, can you define
So
what that termination
they-
includes to me?
How, with this contract here, by October 1st, they will pay to the district the $30,000 contribution for
Going
this
forward,
year.
so not in.
Yes,
they're
so
not
as we
every-
move forward,
Right.
for this contract
Correct.
year, they will remit to the district $30,000 by October 1st.
Okay.
Yeah, and if we look at the financials, I'm sure they're gonna put it in the budget, and then they may have, I would assume they have some reserves
Yes.
in there right
Yes.
now that
They're-
are pretty healthy.
Yes.
Yes, so I think from a financial position, they're in a good position to make this claim.
Right, but that's for this year, and then let's say we continue this on, this is like a new little
Yeah.
clause in there, so that's, the question is,
Sure.
what if one year they can't come up with the funds? Are we gonna allow them to do some sort of like, they'd have to let us know 60 days prior, and we'd have to come up with a payment plan or something of that nature?
So, yes, it talks about a 30-day calendar for deficiencies and how we can act as a board should they not meet their obligations. But I understand too that they have basically an annuity that they have set up. I may be using that word incorrectly in the space, but $500,000 they've set aside for a continuation that they're investing. So they have a substantial reserve in that space that they worked with Spin on to put into place, as he did work with them and us regarding this amendment as well, in the original MOU.
Now, is this MOU every year, or is it just going forward? How long is this going to last? Does that make sense?
Yes, I have to go back and look at that.
Yep. Every year, we're going to
So
come back.
it's just
Yeah.
1 year?
Right, so it's an annual basis, and again, we're paying this salary 100% right now, so by this agreement, we're gonna pay, this district is gonna pay $30,000 less than we have been paying for the same, so it's kind of a gift at the end of the day to make sure we keep this position in place, so.
Unless it's being considered as an addition to the base salary, which we haven't determined yet, because that's not changed. That would have to come through us to change the
We have to
salary.
raise their
Right.
salary
It's
rate.
but the salary lane, I believe,
The
didn't you
salary
say-
lane has already been set.
Yeah.
Already been moved.
Yes,
Correct.
so
So
this
this is just in addition that they're
is
paying.
toward.
Toward.
Their
yeah.
contribution.
Yep.
This is
for that salary.
toward.
Right now, they're contributing 0.
Exactly.
correct.
Right, now we're getting.
That's correct.
Exactly.
And like I said, beginning, the board absolutely sees the value of this position and the process and wants to support moving forward.
And I appreciate the addition of the K-12 portion that was added on with the description, so this will be a great role.
And I think it's, as they look at the decisions that this board and other boards are having to make, it is a step in the right direction to ensure that we can continue to preserve the arts, as has been a desire of the board.
All right, great. Thank you so much. Thanks, Mr. Reeves.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right, so 7.01, which is the VPK teacher job description. Dr. O'Brien and Mr. Walker.
I'm very excited for this.
Welcome back.
So, good afternoon, board. Before you today is a new job description for teacher voluntary pre-kindergarten. This would be a certified teacher position that would fall under, the collective bargaining unit of FCEA, and the goal would be for them to work alongside with your VPK facilitators in order to enhance the offerings to our children. I'll have Dr. O'Brien be able to talk a little bit more about it, as well as Mr. Reeves, but that is what is before you today and on the agenda for this evening.
Sure, and the reason this is coming before you, a certified teacher is a credential that qualifies under the Florida Administrative Code for our VPK program. We just have not employed them in that space in the past. Our current facilitators for VPK are in the support bargaining unit. And so this is so that we can support some of our initiatives in the early learning space. We want to be able to target our classrooms at schools that have traditionally scored lower on the VPK accountability measures, the class scores, so that we can get certified teachers in those spaces to lead those classrooms.
Excellent.
This is a big deal.
Yeah.
So this is-
And we have identified funds through Title I in order to be able to begin this. This will not sunset VPK facilitator positions, but this gives us the opportunity to add a certified teacher in those identified schools and areas. With the ultimate goal, we would love to be able to have a VPK teacher, certified teacher in all of our VPK classrooms, but this is the first step in that effort, which we appreciate the willingness of the board to consider this, as we know that it is definitely in the best interest of our students to get them off to a strong foundation in early learning.
Chair?
Mr. Furry.
So outstanding, you know, I just wanted to, for the benefit of the public too, just to highlight, over the last few years, how have we expanded access to VPK? How many more classrooms have we opened up? Those type of things.
Mr. Reeves, chomping
So,
at the bit.
I just popped back in. So we continue to expand this through, this year, we will have, not including our ESC students in pre-K, but this will have over 320 students in our VPK program. That's up over 100 over the last 3 years that we have been growing this program. And so through the superintendent's vision, we are serving more and more of our community in this space, and we're excited to do so.
That's outstanding. And just, this is another investment in our answer to what has been brought to light for kindergarten readiness, that we need to work as a community to build off that, and that's only going to further enhance this effort. So I'm very encouraged by this. So thank you. That's all I have.
Mr. Ramirez.
Ms. Chong. So awesome. When I saw this pop up on the agenda, and I know, you know, came up pretty quick, I was very excited. I spoke with Ms. Moore. I also spoke with other districts after reading it. So Ms. Moore mentioned, you know, some districts in Florida, they've been doing this for a long time, but some are not. And we have not. And I spoke to a few that have only certified teachers in VPK, and then some districts that they do not. So for me, I think this is a great plan. I just have a few questions. Just one, the transition for those that are currently in our VPK. So obviously we'd want to have like some type of plan. Do you have a plan set? And I know you said this is not occurring right away, but what is the exact timeline and specific campuses, just so we're aware and we can.
And can I just clarify my words? It's not happening right away for all schools, but it is absolutely, if approved by the board, going to begin at least 2 of our schools next year. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, the schools we're targeting right now are Bunnell Elementary, Wadsworth Elementary, and Brimfire. And so we have been working closely with human resources, and so as we've had attrition with positions, we don't know when we'll lose their role over this move. So we will slow roll bringing in our certified teachers, targeting those schools first.
Yeah, thank you.
So is the goal eventually to have 100% certified VPK teachers at those schools, or is there a certain mix that you're hoping to have initially?
Yeah,
If I could add, oh, sorry, go ahead, Ms. Moore.
you're okay. Go ahead.
So just to help clarify as well, there'll be a certified teacher as well as a VPK facilitator in the space. The ratios require 2 adults to 20 students, and so there'll be the certified teacher and the certified CDA. And so we value those employees and what they bring to the table, and they'll be an integral part of this transition and supporting our classrooms. Oftentimes what happens to us is that we have a hard time finding those positions, and so we have to hire other folks in that space. And so we'll be working with the principals in the coming days to work through our plans to help support them and our staff in transition.
No, I'm set. Thank you so
I
much.
have one other question. And I went through this twice, so I hope I didn't miss it, but I didn't see any reference to managing or delivering on IEP goals. They don't write the IEP, alone. That would be with the team and the MTSS coordinator. But how does that component compare to a K-12 teacher in their job description around IEP goal delivery?
Right, great question. Our blended classrooms have ESC students identified through early steps and child find, and in those situations, those are ESC certified teachers that do that work. This would be more like a gen ed setting where they are the VPK gen ed teacher and would follow the MTSS process for if there's academic or behavioral needs that needed to be addressed, and would follow that process, Ms. Ruddy.
But even as a gen ed teacher, I'm required to execute on the IEP accommodations and help the students achieve those goals. How about the language then particular to MTSS? Is that robust enough for them to be able to understand?
We can take a look at that. I can see your
Just making
concern
sure
there.
that both, that
Yes.
the, what is reflected in the K-12 teacher is also reflected in here.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and when we're serving our pre-K ESE students, those teachers are under a different job description, the ESE teacher job description, which is why it isn't originally listed here. But I could see that being an area to support interventions and supports through the tiered system.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I have one more follow-up question. Just regarding the funding, you said that we found it through Title I. Was this a new lane of funding, or was it just reallocating funds to this position from somewhere else?
Yeah, so looking at our overall allocations for Title I and shifting our priority here.
Okay, so we definitely have the recurring flow to continue this on?
As we know now, given our status of federal funding.
As we get it today,
yes.
if it continues on that, we're good going
Yes.
forward, okay.
And because
However, this has been part of our legislative request that the state of Florida fund VPK at an equitable rate that they do K-12 students. So essentially, yes, this is costing us something where we're not,
Yes.
those same resources would
Yes.
otherwise be used elsewhere because
Yes.
we are not getting additional VPK funds for
Yeah,
this.
and I'm glad you brought that up, because I really think that if the legislature finally wakes up to that and realizes, I think that if we invest the resources down here, it's going to offset some of the resources we're paying for later to get kids
Absolutely.
caught up. So I think of one way we can convince Tallahassee, then we can get there.
See what the data comes out and bears
Exactly.
for a year. I think that would be great.
Yeah, and I think we're helping build data by expanding the VPK in our organization. We're going to be able to show more data, and other districts are going to be able to show it too, that we can convince it, because most of them are numbers driven. They want to see that there's proof in the pudding there, so, yeah.
And I think this is one of at least two that have been discussed today around the board and the district's efforts towards kindergarten readiness, right? We've been saying this is a community effort that we have to address. And so what the board has done in doing this is saying, we're going to do our part by, one, expanding the offerings that we have in our schools around the number of classes that we offer. We don't do that so that families are not taking the private, going into the private providers. We're doing that as a response to a wait list that we have, right? And so as more and more families choose us as a board, where you guys are adding more programs, but this is another piece, is to say we're going to even take it a step further and allocate resources to ensure that we have a certified teacher in the classroom. So I think it's this board's efforts towards what we know is a community need, and we see that also with our, again, we mentioned the foundation, some work that we are going to be doing with the foundation around VPK readiness for the community, and not just for Flagler schools. And so that's how I look at it. I look at it as this is our steps forward towards something that our whole community has to wrap its arms around.
Ms. Chong, can I just add one more
Yes.
thing? So speaking of session, so Miss Ruddy brought up and Mr. Furry, so every year, school boards from across the state go to Tallahassee and we have specific needs. So as a state, so FSBA, we have goals. And so one, like Ms. Ruddy said, is for VPK. So I'm wondering, is there a way, just maybe if we can have some ready-made data, so when we go next, so which will be at the end of this year, and it's coming up quickly, or the end of this year, beginning of next year, from August to then, to provide when we have our 2-minute conversation with whoever and whatever it may be, hey, we now have 3 campuses with certified teachers in VPK. We've been asking for this for so many years, and prior to us being school board members, FSBA is like, this is how it is, because I said, I feel defeated. They said, Lauren, every year you move an inch with it. And so I'm like, okay, this makes sense, but this, I feel, if we come back and present, whether they take it or not, we have something to provide proof that this is working. So I know that might be a lot to gather, but that would be something nice to have to present on our portfolio in the next
And Mr. Ramirez, what you're seeing is the slow change. There's, like the SERP language has changed, and there's several areas where the language is starting to change to say pre-K through 12. There's a lot of different groups and agencies in the state that have a stake in the process, and so the wheels turn slow sometimes, but I think your steady voice can help bring change about. But this is definitely a step in the right direction.
Yeah, I'm very excited for this,
We're excited too.
Awesome.
for our kids.
All right. Thanks, y'all. Can we take a 5-minute recess, everybody?
Sure.
All right, 7.03, high demand teacher needs with Mr. Walker.
All right. So board, before you today, and before I get started, just as a reminder, the job description for PBK teacher will go before you at 6 p.m. this evening, as well as the high demand teacher needs area. So we receive a list from the state of high demand teacher needs, formerly known as critical shortage areas, and then from there, us as a school district get to add any additional ones. Based on past practice and what we're currently seeing, we are adopting the FLDOE areas of high demand teacher needs areas, and also putting forward school psychologists and speech language pathologists, which we have done, I would say, over the past 3 years, just based off of the tough time we have in filling those roles on a year-to-year basis.
So they're not defining this by grade level?
No.
And when you say math, like that could be drastically different between elementary math, algebra, geometry,
That's true.
calculus.
We can get some feedback from the state. I believe the intent is like secondary math.
Yeah, because math for elementary falls under elementary ed.
And so what does this, essentially what does this do?
Yeah.
For us?
So like for instance, there's a pool of money that we are able to use. It's not
That's
necessarily a
what I
pool of
thought.
money, but it's tied into when we attract educators in those fields, that it allows them to get I believe it's a one-time or an ongoing stipend.
Okay,
That goes
so if we narrow the category too much, that could be a disadvantage. is what you're
Exactly.
saying.
Like
Okay.
this can only really help us in trying to attract high-quality educators to our area for areas that are hard to fill.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? All right, thank you, Mr. Walker. 10.01, NEFAC agreement with Superintendent Moore and Ms. Warbeck.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, board members, and Superintendent Moore. I am here sitting in for our general counsel, as he is out this week, to discuss the NEFAC annual contract. As you know, this is...
And if I'll add, we have asked for Mr. Bosterdet, Mr. Deasing, and Dr. O'Brien to come to the table in the event that you have any questions around risk management, technology, or academic services. Go ahead, Ms. I'm sorry.
You just threw me off.
Yes. As they know, this contract comes before them annually.
Was the item just taken off?
It's there.
Okay. Yes, sorry about that. Okay, back on track. So we did just receive this yesterday from NEFAC. Putnam's board just approved it recently. So we wanted to get this on the 1 o'clock, just so you all have time to review it and bring back any questions when we bring this back next month. This contract covers several different areas. For cost, it covers our NEFAC membership, instructional services, education technology services, which is data processing, our Skyward annual license, and the biggest one is risk management. With regard to risk management, that covers our workers' comp insurance, liability, property, errors and omissions, boiler and machinery, and the machinery. The biggest part of that is our workers' comp and our property insurance. What I am happy to announce is for the first year in several years, this whole contract in total has decreased $124,000. The vast majority of that is risk management decrease of $107,000. So that is a nice surprise, a good win for us after having constant increases for risk management in the past several years.
And this is our portion of risk management to NEFAC, and some of that benefit is because we're pooling it with them, right?
With the consortium, yes.
Right. So, and I just want, I'm sure they did, but I just want to double check, I have to ask. My understanding is that legislation approved where they could technically sue for larger sums of money now in lawsuits that would fall under risk management. So that number is taking into account the new legislation and any particular changes in award values.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, it does.
Love
There
to
is
see
still a
answers.
cap. That's the, I mean, that's
Yes,
the
there's
part.
still a cap,
There's still
but
a
they
cap,
raised
but
it, right?
absolutely,
Okay.
yes. Yes, they did, yes.
And we increased our loss fund.
Yes.
The part that did increase is our loss fund, so we've increased our loss fund to
Yes.
adjust for that.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. All right, we will bring this back before you at the 3 p.m. meeting before it goes to the 6 p.m. Meeting. If you have any questions between now and the 3 p.m. meeting, these are the individuals you can reach out to for the specific areas.
And Sven, don't forget Sven.
Yes, and not Patty.
He's not here, doesn't mean don't call
Mr.
him.
Smith, you can reach out to Attorney Sven Smith as well.
Okay.
All right,
Okay.
thank you.
Great,
Thank you, everybody.
All right, and the 10.02, back to board policy updates with Superintendent Moore.
Yes, so in Mr. Sanfilippo's absence, and he does apologize for not being here, but had a family emergency. We have pulled everything that's on here right now, and I'm looking at it again
It
because.
looks different.
Yes, we removed the educator misconduct.
I was going to say. there
That
were
is not
more.
going before you until after Attorney Smith and Attorney Delaney have been able to collaborate with us on that. So that'll come before you next month, and we did not want to do that in their absence, so we did pull those. What you have before you are the drug-free workplace. So everything that you've seen already and the information, the changes that you've asked. At 6 p.m., we have a group of policies that will go before you for requests to advertise only. We are not requesting for approval of any of those. They will advertise, and of course, you know they will come back before you again 2 more times before asking for your approval. In July, Mr. Sanfilippo will be bringing back to you additional policies. As you know, this is just our cycle, as well as he will be bringing before you policies that we will be requesting for advertisement and approval that align with our current legislation that was just passed this session. And I will answer any questions that you may have about these that we needed to bring back before you.
I know we've all talked about this before, but any other comments, questions? All right, great. We'll move on to public comments. Any other public comments today?
We don't have any public comments.
All right, board member request.
I have 2. First, I wanted to, so Chair Chong, bus patrol, to see if we could have our district staff have further conversation on that. I have been investigating it, researching it since my first conference in 2024, so I'd like to see if we could get that on a workshop to discuss.
And we have piloted some things, so we can definitely bring some information back for that, yes.
All right. And then the second one, I would like to see if we could set up a legislative priorities workshop as a board request to have, Ms. Moore, perhaps however she wanted to do it, work with her team, district, to see for our next legislative session, so then we can kind of coordinate together as a team, talk with our lobbyist, and see what other appropriations we could do.
Like that.
All right, thank you, and that's all I have.
Mine is perhaps just a point of clarification. When the sale of the Palm Coast Parkway land request came up and we voted against that, we discussed potentially analyzing the value of that property for either selling for, to make other investments. Discussions that I've participated in is that there are a lot of city movements where they are also kind of doing some strategic land sales, and the question might be, is this the right timing where we would get the most return on that investment? So I'd love for us to have a discussion on, are we thinking of selling it, or are we thinking of, and what would we use that money for? Because there's quite a number of items that perhaps would benefit from those funds, especially if the value of that property is at its apex right now.
Okay, we have this to bring back before the board, a review of all of our property, but I will find out where that is on the timeline and get back to you. I don't recall it being on the July 14th, but it may be on the July 23rd meeting, but we will bring this before you.
Thank you.
One thing, Chair Chong, may I just
Superintendent.
ask, that the board may want to consider
Oh, yes.
August 18th is election day. In the past, the board has shifted that workshop day. I don't know if that is the desire of the board to make a shift there. If not, I just want to bring it to your attention. If you do desire to move that to a different date,
Is
or
the first week of school out of the question?
please.
No. Yeah.
Please.
I mean, yeah,
Or even merge it in. We can not have that one and then merge in the 1 and the 3 together. Or we can keep it, but I do not recommend moving it up to the first week.
Well, just from my perspective, I would like to reschedule that, and I think that's how we did it last time. We merged the two meetings together.
Yes, we did.
And it worked out just fine. So if the rest of the board is okay, we would just kind of merge the content for the 1 o'clock to or the 3 o'clock to the 1 o'clock meeting on the
For the subsequent week
25th.
on the
Yeah, on the 25th. They're back to back anyways.
So
as
are
everybody's
you,
okay with it.
would you prefer to come in earlier? Because 1 to 4 is our current workshop. If we add more, it potentially,
Well,
We would just control the
Yeah.
agenda to make sure
Okay.
that we can get the things that need to, so for our next meeting, the 3 o'clock meeting, we will add a few items to that 3 o'clock meeting that would have gone to the 1 o'clock meeting. And we would do the same thing on the 3 o'clock, the next 3 o'clock. It will have some things on the 3 o'clock that would have been on the 1 o'clock is what we will do. If that works for the board.
I'm
Is
fine
everybody
with that.
okay with joining those days? Okay.
So we would not have August 18th as a board meeting, and Attorney Delaney, we need to bring this forward as an item in the future for them to vote on? It's not their business meeting, it's the workshop.
No, I don't think that's specifically required. It would probably be helpful for the minutes and anybody looking at that and wanting to track it to just go ahead.
Okay. I will repeat this tonight, so it'll be in the minutes from tonight. We'll make sure it's in the minutes for today, and we will make sure it is reflected on the website that this meeting will not happen. The August 18th meeting would not happen.
All right, any other board member requests? Okay, closing comments, Ms. Ramirez.
I will save comments for this evening. Thank you, staff, for everything today.
Likewise, yield my time.
Same here.
Okay, see you tonight.
Thank you. See you then.
All right, this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.